Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The essential question for this lesson is how does a character affect the plot of a movie, story, novel, etc.? The objective is to explore the ways an author shows characterization. And the standard is Common Core 137D to analyze how an author develops and contrasts the points of view of different characters in a text. First of all, it's important to notice the function of a character in a text. A writer creates characters to advance the plot in the story. Characters are essential to the plot. Without them, there would be no story. When a reader follows the character from the beginning of a plot to the end of a plot, you'll notice the character sometimes changes. This is called character development. It's the way a character changes from the beginning of the plot to the end. Writers use the following methods to show character development: a character's speech, a character's actions, a character's appearance, a character's private thoughts, and how others feel about the character is also important. Here's an example of a text. This is an excerpt from Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. As I read the text, I want you to think about the methods of character development that are being used. In addition, form an opinion. What do you think of the man based on this excerpt? "Keep still, you little devil, or I'll cut your throat." A fearful man, all in coarse gray, with a great iron on his leg. A man with no hat, and with broken shoes, and with an old rag tied round his head. A man who had been soaked in water and smothered in mud and lamed by stones and cut by flints, who limped and shivered and glared and growled, and whose teeth chattered in his head as he seized me by the chin. So think back. Is there speech? Is there character appearance? Are there private thoughts? Are there others' reactions or actions of that character? Well, there's speech. "Keep still, you little devil, or I'll cut your throat." There's also the character's physical description. He was a fearful man in coarse gray. He had a great iron on his leg. Why would he have an iron on his leg? A man with no hat. He had broken shoes, an old rag tied around his head. He had been soaked in water, smothered in mud, lamed by stones, and cut by flints. That's his physical description. Then he has some actions here. He limped, shivered, glared, growled, and his teeth chattered on his head as he seized me by the chin. So in this small excerpt, you have speech, description, and actions that help you form some information about the character. What do you think of the man? Well, it's clear that he's dangerous and fearful, right? He's seemingly desperate. I think given his great iron on his legs, he's escaped from prison and he's on the run. You'll have to read the story to find out. Great novel. So here are the ways again. Pay attention if you're looking at a character's speech, the dialogue. Dialogue in terms of what the character says, and sometimes there's a lot of power in what a character doesn't say, but also how characters respond to one another. That's very important. When looking at the appearance of a character, pay attention to the language the writer uses to describe the character's looks, clothes, and demeanor. For example, "The cold within him froze his old features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheeks, stiffened his gait, made his eyes red, his thin lips blue." Does this physical description of this character give you a positive or negative impression of him? His appearance here. He had a pointed nose, shriveled cheeks, his gait was stiffened, and his eyes were red. All of those things are pretty negative characteristics. So which words contribute to this impression? Think through the words an author uses. They're purposeful. When reflecting on a private thoughts of a character, note what the character's thoughts and feelings are. Is it the same consistency as what they're saying out loud, or are their thoughts contrasting what they're thinking? Find a truthful character that way. Also pay attention to how other characters feel about this character. What do they say about this character when the character's not around? And finally, think of a character's actions. This is the easiest thing to do because a character's actions determine their personality. Think about what motivates them. Are they motivated by certain facets of society? What's motivating them? And how do they deal with conflict? That often tells you a lot about a character. Now I want you guys to think about the most unforgettable character you've ever met in a story. Maybe a recent movie you've seen. What was the character's appearance? What were some things that the character said out loud? What were some things the character thought? How about the character's actions? And then finally, what did the other characters think about him or her? Reactions of the other characters. All of those will help you really understand character development as you read a text and understanding how a character changes from the beginning of a story to the end, but also how an author engages you in a character and helps you to make a character more meaningful and stick with you through the course of a novel. And sometimes great characters last a lifetime.